Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 212 of the Brewgooders, the beer, comics, and Assorted Geekery podcast. Jeff, to my right, is Stu. We're not making any political jokes because we worked out last week that it doesn't work if there's only two of you. So, but yeah, hope everyone's well. The algorithm on YouTube tells me that folk only, like a lot of folk maybe only watch the first minute or two of an episode. So, like, if you're that person, make sure you click the like and the share and the subscribe button before you go, because that would be really helpful. And yeah, how are you, Stu? You're right.
I'm not bad, even though my complexion in this camera makes me look quite pale and ill. I'm perfectly healthy.
I always think, like, obviously, we're not. You do look very healthy. We're not very professional, obviously, because that's who we are. But like when I watch other podcasts on like telly and stuff, and they've got like the mics and they've got like decent lighting and stuff, you're like, that's pretty mad. Like, it totally baffles me.
I mean, I did get the nice microphone, but I haven't got the stand, so it's actually sitting on a pile of DVDs.
Ah, nice.
Like The Last Hero in China.
Oof.
So
that's the political statement of the Friday night. That's a good one.
Yeah, so that's the only way I could get the microphone closer to my mouth rather than handheld, which is probably more troublesome because I'd rather be holding a beer.
Yeah. I'm maybe misremembering Friday Night. It's Friday Night, the one where he lives next door to a vampire. It's a bit
Yep.
Yeah. They redid it recently, didn't they, with David Tennant?
Farrell. Colin Farrell, David Tennant, because David Tennant was like the guy they reached out to help. Like, he's like the TV vampire guy who's actually just, I was gonna say a goofball, but who says that?
It was the 80s. Some really good. I quite like watching 80s movies, particularly 80s horror movies, because they're so tonally all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was what's the one, Lost Boys, which Lost Boys is like a really moody movie, but then there's like just really weird jokes in there as well. So,
I don't remember that one as much as others. I have seen it maybe once or twice, but I know it's in high regard. Certain generations.
And what my friend Kev, who has graciously invited me onto his podcast, he works for a cinema chain. The guys that own, I think it's Arbroath, Alloa, and Bathgate cinemas. Wherever that cinema group is. And he, as part of their setup in Bathgate, they run a podcast called, what's it called? The Jibber Jabber podcast. But they, like we all did during lockdown, that when we had podcasts, we all, you reached out to everyone because everyone was stuck in their houses, so you could just, And he was able to reach out to the guys that did the music for Lost Boys, like "Cry Little Sister" song, and managed to get him to perform at the cinema during a screening of Lost Boys. I was like, our podcast isn't that cool. It was pretty good. Anyway, that was the weird 80s. That was the plebby banter portion of the podcast. What beer are you drinking this evening?
Today I have went for hazy IPA guava. This is your anti-establishment Aldi's. We're taking mick out of Brewdog. Kind of labels.
Yeah, I quite like them. I quite like that the anti-establishment IPA. Was it you get? Did you on the Agrologs? Did you guys not buy both and compare them? Did I make that up?
No. That would have been a good idea, but no, that wasn't us.
I definitely saw somebody do that, and the argument was they're very similar, and but Brewdog are better marketing. Was basically was the conclusion. So.
But no, I've been wanting to try this for a little while. Yeah, it's kind of got a grapefruit thing going. Let's pour this into my new tumbler.
Yeah. That's a nice tumbler.
Finally got around remembering to wash it and not drop it.
Yeah, not worse than getting a really nice tumbler and then smashing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
A good colour.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Smells
as
really
it's not
nice.
as light. It's not as light as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it does seem lighter on my end, but on the camera's definitely making it look a lot darker.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, the audio listeners are like, "What the fuck are they doing?"
Yes, this is the wanky beer part where we're quietly taking it in. What are you pouring, Jeff?
I am pouring. Hold on, I actually made a banner for this section of the podcast. There you go. Same banner.
For audio
So
listeners, it says this week's beer.
yeah, it's more for me to work at thumbnails later on. So I did a video earlier today. I put it up on the YouTube channel. Everyone should check that out. Oh my god, I got a beer 52 box this week, and I love beer from my beer 52 box. And actually, this month I was particularly excited about this month's one because it was London themed. So like
All
it
right.
came. So all the breweries were breweries that you'd find on the underground on the underground line.
Okay.
Which of course London's massive, so there's like hundreds of breweries and really good bars in the London area. But they obviously could only select so many. But it did come with that, which I thought was really cool. So it's like you and me were both in London last year, and you get these maps if you enter the tube stations.
Mm-hmm.
But this one obviously comes with the London Underground. But there's these additional numbers which you can then these additional numbers in blue and green, which you can then look at the bit here.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all the if you got off at these stations where the closest microbrewery is and where the closest like craft beer bar is. So
that's ace.
Yeah, it's really ace. There's definitely a future Brewgooder trip here. Looking at like things like Tottenham, the Tottenham area, for example, has what looks like between Tottenham Hale and Walthamstow Central, there is like 10 breweries. Is you can walk that, and I know Tottenham Hale, and I know St James Street, and I've walked between those two, and it's not too far.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so yeah, and also obviously down by Bermondsey as well. There's like breweries, and there's like a huge like that section there. Where are we? Sorry, trying to do this in reverse. That section there.
Mm-hmm.
So like just south of the river, just kind of near Canary Wharf, between Canary Wharf and London Bridge, actually on that stretch of line. There's like such 12 breweries / tap rooms in that square. So there's definitely a pub crawler there. So I got some. I picked up one of them. It's called People's Captain Legend, and it is a Transport for London has kept London moving for over 160 years, and it's important as every journey is to them. So it's every conversation with that. Yeah. So it's like every beer was kind of themed after transport and jumping on the tune. But they're talking about like the connection to the tube. But it is a citrus fruit session APA from People's Captain Brewery. And they are committed to brewing positively by making a positive social impact and supporting mental health initiatives in the UK. So I feel morally okay by drinking this beer. Quite light. I love an American pale ale.
Yeah, that caught me off guard when I did that pub crawl in Belfast. There was one bar that had an APA, and I didn't know what it was, and I just remember audibly out loud just shouting Acolyte Protection Agency.
Yeah,
because that's the only register.
That's the only thing that acronym stands for. Yes. If you're a 30-something-year-old wrestling fan.
Survived that Attitude Era.
Yeah, it's American pale ale. What I quite like about them is they don't fanny around too much with the hops. You tend to maybe only have one or two. they're always kind of going for that like hoppy, citrusy taste. So that they're quite inoffensive. They're, I think, quite good gateway beers, to be honest. If you're trying to get like, I don't know if you get it, but when like you tell folk that you are in a podcast about beer, like folk will ask you every so often if you're out on like out at the pub or that, they'll just be like, right then, fucking Mr. Beer Man, what should I be drinking? And I'm like, just drink what you want. And they're like, no, what would you recommend? And I was like, an American pale ale tends to be quite easy to like say, that's quite eerie. You just spill your
maybe.
That's Kellyanne saying morning, guys. I think she's in Australia just now. So
well, there you go.
Just showing off, I think. Yeah. So yeah, we're both drinking our out of our big Swally glasses, which was the beer festival that we went to last week.
Yes, it was.
What did you think? That was a really fun day.
Yes, and I didn't have any expectations because it was the first. I'm not sure if I'm going to see this, but
oh man, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
it's really bad when you spill something in your beer or you drop something on your beer that you use. Is did you get your keyboard buggered or you?
I'm going to unplug it, even though I know there's nothing electrical. But yeah, there might be some sticky keys tomorrow, just in time for going back to work. Yeah. I'm just going to put post-it notes down. That's the only type of absorbent I've got going on here.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
So yes, the Big Swally. Yes, as I said, my first beer festival. Wasn't sure what to expect at all, other than I know that you were still going to have to pay for all your beer after you got in. Because my original idea of a beer festival was like you buy a ticket and then you go in and you're given like tokens.
Yeah.
And then once you've used your tokens, then you start buying the beer. But the Big Swally was, I think, £16 each, and it comes with like a lovely glass and your like little wristband, which I managed to save.
Yeah, I managed to get mine off. It was cool. It was a cool like music festival, like decent high. Like,
aye.
The
Exactly,
folk
actually.
Like
rather
when
than
you
just having to get the swimming pool and you get a paper tag.
Yeah, exactly. No, they were good. There was a good band. Yeah, normally you're right. Like my experiences have been that you would maybe pay anywhere between 10 and 20 quid for a beer festival, and you would get your tokens. And obviously, Big Swally was different in that regard. But then also, you don't often come away with a beer glass. You know, you don't come away with a glass at most beer festivals. It's either the glasses are supplied by the pub, or I went to a beer festival, the charity one, where you were given a plastic tumbler, and you got to take that.
I was expecting something like that, where it was just like a branded cup, but I wasn't expecting glass. Glass is nice. It's the fact that it's at least described as like the schooner style glasses, or yeah.
That's what I would have called it, yeah, because it's not quite a pint, is it? Is that a pint? Have you filled it to the top? That's a pint.
No, I don't think so. It goes to the 2/3. Well, it goes to a 2/3 pint. So I'm not sure if you.
There, so.
So if you go above that, I'm taking if that's, you might spill some.
Mm-hmm. Maybe 500 mils rather than 532 or whatever a pint is. No, it's beautiful glasses. I didn't know what to expect. So like you say, I've been to a few beer festivals, and what I've kind of learned from them is that they can be all quite different, and depend on like location and depending on like kind of what they were going for. So like the last beer festival I went to was with Colin just before COVID, and it was also in the same venue as a Big Swally, but it was a charity one, so it was slightly cheaper to get in. But apart from one or two kegs from local breweries, all the beer was provided by Harveston Brewery. So
okay,
nothing massively craft. And after a couple of drinks, me and Colin were a bit like, we've got more tokens than desire to drink.
Right.
And but it was heaving the clientele around us without sounding like that guy. I don't think we're necessarily beer fit. They weren't there for the beer festival. It was good. It was good quality beer, quite cheap. I think was what they were going for. Whereas obviously that's not what the Big Swally was. It was all craft beer. It was craft brewers, all high quality beer, and the brewers at each table providing them. So it was. I thought the setup was really cool.
Yeah, and that's it. Everyone was like in there with like at least 4 of like their beers. There wasn't one where it was just like 2 to choose from. I mean, there was ones that I think it was maybe Track had, it was like 5 or 6, and I think Vault City were rotating their selection because obviously we'd spoke that they had like a some sort of barrel age stout at 16%, and then you had friends that were telling you that there was the Iron Brew float, and every time we got there, it was the fierce Iron Brew, and I would just like these people were prepared to quench the thirst of lots of people.
And I thought the organisation was amazing. As I say, like normally both beer festivals or the number of beer festivals I've been to before, they often it's one bar and it's maybe staff either of the venue or the one that I went to one in Glenrothes where it was run by camera and it was like camera volunteers that were doing the bar. Whereas this was like you say, there was like 12 different. How was it? 12 different breweries? No, 10 because we visited 10 breweries, all watching after their own stock and all so it's good.
Yeah, aye, and that's it. It also kind of gives you a chance to meet the brewers in a sense, or at least people from the company, and kind of hear about their passions of the beer. Like if you had questions, like when we were talking to the Paloma guys, and it's like, I don't understand any of these references on your drinks, and they were nice enough to explain. It was like, what was it? Vietnamese skateboarding movies with Christian Slater, and
that was it. So it was one of the beers I've got it here. There was a beer that I got specifically because it was called Gleaming the Cube. And obviously, when we had Katie Cunningham on 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had quite an extensive conversation about the Canadian horror stories. Yeah. So I that's what I asked the guy. I was like, what is, because also Paloma Island's whole thing is that all their beers are references to movies. And I think as time's gone on for them, some of those references have got more and more obscure as like they provide more beer. So I was like, what's Gleaming the Cube? I've got my wee list of the beers that I had. What's Gleaming the Cube? And he said, it's like this weird like 1980s.
Yeah, it's literally just the name of this Christian Slater skateboarder movie. I did look up the other references because I did film stuff, unfortunately. I think your top one was Hot Shots Part 2. I Loved You in Wall Street. And then there was something about There Goes Mrs. Deagle, which is a Gremlins reference. The woman that has like the stair.
Yeah, is the stair lift that goes.
Yes, that goes.
Yeah.
Gleaming the Cube is actually.
I didn't notice the Hot Shots beer. I would have got that reference, I think, if I'd seen it.
Yeah, that was the one at the very top, because I had like a chicken on the clip. But at the bottom there was The Business of Dirt, and I have still yet to figure out what that is from.
What was it called? What was it called?
The Business of Dirt.
The Business of Dirt.
Yep, that was their fruited sour. It had a crow on the can, well, on the pump clip. But no, I could not, through the powers of Google and Bing, could not find anything to do with movies and The Business of Dirt. So if anyone knows that.
The Business of Dirt. That's frustrating. My favorite quote of Hot Shots Part 2 is there's this bit where they're betrayed by a member of their team because and it's like the whole thing is that he's played by one of the sort of antagonists in RoboCop, and one of the baddies from Iron Man 3 is the same actor. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like, he gets really, really upset because he betrays the team because it couldn't get him out of the war, and he hates killing. And he has this conversation with Charlie Sheen where Charlie Sheen like makes him feel better, and obviously it subverts the joke of like he needs him to get back to fighting. So like by the time they have this like pep talk, he's like killing folk again, and he just breaks the fourth wall and looks at he looks at the camera after he blows something up, and he goes, "War, it's fantastic." Like, so, yeah. The beers were like I really enjoyed that Gloom in the Cube. I took a list of the beers I tried, and had every intention of like googling and reminding myself what they were, and then ran out of time, and my spelling's also not great, and so my notes from Big Swally was Synthwave Nipa, which was the first beer I drank.
Yes, from Neon Raptor.
Yeah, from Neon Raptor, and that was incredible. Then also Paloma Islands, Gloom in the Cube, and then Wasted Degrees. Oh, I'm doing all right actually. Wasted Degrees Kvike IPA, which was really nice.
Yeah,
whereas like you normally associate Kvike hops with being used in lager, so it was quite interesting. That was good. Then I had Topaz, which was from
Inner Bay.
Inner Bay, and that was our last beer festival. Inner Bay.
Yeah, they're winding down.
Yeah, and so it was nice to get. It was nice to get a glass of Topaz because, like I was telling you at the time, I think that was when we always do, like on our last episode of the year, we always do like what was our favorite thing that year. And when it was just me and Colin in year one, we did like we for that first year we sat in like my kitchen, Brewgooders headquarters. We sat here and we took the 2 or 3 beers that we had most enjoyed, and we made it as scientific as possible. So we're like, here's my so I brought my 2 favorite beers from the year, and he brought his 2 favorite beers, and Topaz won. So Topaz was like, so it was great to have that on cask one more time. Really sad to see where they go. And then I had Thunder Juice, which I think was maybe, I don't know. I don't.
Is it the Swedish brewery? The very first table, that Abundsman.
Oh yeah, that was exactly what it was. And then Sock-to-Pod, which I remember being 10% and tasting like Monster.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed that. I can't remember who the brewer is, but
that was Vault City.
Vault City. That was really good.
Because it reminds you of an energy drink.
Yeah, can of Monster, I think. And then the last, I know it wasn't my last beer because I've only managed to write down 7 of the 10 that I tried. But Auto Rock as well.
Auto Rock, Overtone Brewing.
Yeah, that's right.
Aye. And then I think we had the White Hag from Cromarty.
Oh yeah. This is and then we had Mexicake. That guy got his
Mexicake. Mexicake. That was a notable one.
That was number one, and I would have enjoyed Mexicake if it was either the first beer that we tried that day, or it was the only beer we were trying that day. But at that point, we were like, he bought us a schooner each. Do I remember this correctly? He bought us quite a lot.
I think we'd asked for a third, and what we were given definitely looked more than that.
Yeah, just remember being like, if we drink this, I won't be able to finish
my day. The sentence.
So it was a temp, and then we had Tempest, I think, for the last. No, that was Tempest, wasn't it?
That was Tempest, and then it was Brewtune, and I convinced us to get like lemon radlers, and you looked at me in disgust. To the set, it was like,
it was like 2.4%, though, wasn't it? It was like a total section.
Yeah, I was doing like a wee happy dance, like that's the beer for us. Like we can manage that. Absolute fools, but yes, unfortunately, I've been reliving all these moments because had a GoPro on my bag, so it's like a body cam footage of everything that was going on, and I sent you the screen caps of all the mixed up subtitles that are going on in that video. I've got a lot of correcting to do because it does not understand drunk Scottish very well.
I want to know. Like, you need to tell me. Also, you put in the group chat. And the one that I really liked was bring up how you smell. Which is
I think one of them said something about the Scottish bird in your car. And it's like,
and the Scottish bird is my gift in his car.
that sounds like you're. That doesn't sound legal. And I swear, all we were doing was just ordering beer, Mexicake.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that tremendously.
But no, that's definitely kind of one of the takeaway beers where I wish they actually sold cans on site. I think Overtone, where they had like they done like a beer named after the Caledonian craft beer merchant, just like
it was called that, wasn't it?
CBBM or something.
Yeah.
CCBM, and they had a stack of tins of that. But if they actually had like Mexicake, I think if they had that there, I probably would have grabbed a couple for the road, like just for like a future excuse to properly enjoy the drink, savor it. Because looking back on it, like all I can do now is thinking, like we went through that too fast, but we were there for hours. We got there at 3:00, and was it like 3 hours?
6.
Yeah.
I was about 6:30 when I picked up Sunday. So
Yeah, so like 3 hours to work our way through 10 breweries, which I mean is an achievement in itself. But part of me was thinking, maybe did we rush it?
I think
there's no way you could do 10 and take your time.
I didn't feel like we were rushing it. I think the fact that we were buying smaller measurements than a pint, if it was 10 pints in 3 hours, neither of us would be standing, regardless of what beer it was. And it's, but I didn't feel like we rushed it. I felt like maybe the last beer, it was like, right, we've got one more to go. And at that point, it was more like it was a sprint rather than the marathon that we'd set ourselves up for. But certainly, like, I totally agree with what you're saying. If I could have bought a couple beers, what I quite liked is that you could buy merch. So a couple of the tables had like that. That was pretty cool. And I'm very proud of myself that I didn't buy anything because so there was a couple there. Like I would have taken a couple cans of that Sock-to-Pod home. I actually remember really enjoying that, and that was probably. In fairness, I can just go to Haymarket and they've got the or go up to the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant, and you probably would have buy it there. But,
exactly.
Did you steal any beer mats? I managed to get away with a hefty.
Yes, Tom did ask for a lot. So I remember before leaving, I went around each table and was trying to do a trade. I was like, "Can I get your beer mat? Cool, I'll leave mine." And it was like the Largalogs business cards that I had printed. And then some of them, I just didn't have the balls to say it out loud, and just like took a beer mat and then just slid my wee business card on the table and quickly ran away. But I did like this Cromarty. The guy at the Cromarty bar seemed awfully annoyed by the time I came around, saying, "Can I get a beer mat?" And he just walked away from the table. And I was like,
well, I never really.
But I did again.
Well, I'd say to the Paloma, the Pomona Island guys. Yeah, that's probably the best one. I thought I grabbed one of them as well, but I've only got like unless I'm not with them all up. I got my Pomona Island one, which is it's like survived the trip. That one seems to have not had any use, which I quite enjoyed. But they were really nice. My Tempest one, Tempest Brewing Company, which I don't remember picking up. Wasted one.
But no, this is what I think I should do. Like, I need to find out how the beer mats get made, because I think
they're quite. I tried to do it for Spirit of Inky. So Spirit of Inky issue 1 has like one of the main sort of the MacGuffin is the big stone. So I ordered a bunch as a stretch goal for issue 1 of Spirit of Inky. You got like the issue, and then if it made over the money, which it did, everybody that bought the physical copy would get a free beer mat. And then I ordered a bunch of beer mats from this company, and they came in. They were really shit quality. They were like stickers. They were like they were sticker quality, but without the ability to peel.
Aye.
I was like, oh, actually, it's not quite. It's like a sticker without any adhesiveness, and it's like a beer mat without any substance. You know, you want your beer mats to be that.
Yeah, you want to have that feel.
Yeah, and these were like, so I ended up like everybody that ordered a physical copy of Spelunky got like 10 of them each. It's just like basically, I've still got thousands of them, and it was just basically taking a pile and then sticking it in the comic and being like, yeah, it's not quite a beer mat, so you can just have all of them.
It's kind of like a bookmark.
Yeah.
But no, I think definitely like for like if you're trying to promote yourself as like a craft beer like channel or podcast, I think actually having your podcast advertised on a beer mat, so like what Palomas did here, where you've got the company, then you've got the QR code on the back. Like that's probably the best way to advertise your beer channel in a sense, where it's like this is who we are, and this is where you could find out more about us. Because I'm happy to go to more beer festivals and kind of do trades in a sense. Like if they have a match, oh cool, I'll give you mine rather than giving them a Vistaprint business card. Actually giving them a beer mat with kind of like your information on it as a talking point. I'm going to try and look into that.
That's a pretty cool idea. Like I fancied it for the Brewgooders as well, just haven't ever got around to it.
And that's it. It's the worst part is these things are going to be done in bulk. You're going to end up with a couple hundred of these things, most likely. But trying to think what my standout beer of the day was outside of like the Mexicake, because that's it. Like each brewery came with like sort of anything from like 6% and up when it comes to the beers. And thankfully, yeah, they did have like one option, or like, there was something manageable for like guys that didn't want to dive into the deep end. And I mean, we tried it once or twice, like that one, the Swedish one, very first table. Like everyone was talking about like this peanut butter stout, and I was like, oh, I don't want to dance a bit with a 10% just yet.
Totally. That was like my main, because it was we bumped into my friends Odd and James. Sorry, and we stood with them for a wee while, and they were total wax and lyrical about that. And so we went round. It was like, oh, it's 10%. Like that. Yeah. But saying that, like,
you go.
I was going to say that my beer of the day was either Topaz for like the nostalgia and just the love of that beer and the sadness that like you won't be able to get it very soon. That Topaz was my favorite. It still tastes amazing. Still got that whole passion fruit buzz thing. I really liked Vault City Pod, which is not my it's not my percentage. I tend to try and stay away from anything that's more than 7%.
Because I think we even ordered it and then realized the percentage afterwards.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's not my style as well. Like it's Vault City specialise in sours, so it wasn't overly sour in that sort of in the the definition of the word. But it was I would say that Assorted Pod was like my favourite drink of that day. What were you leaning towards?
That's hard. I don't think I've actually come to terms with what could have been my favourite. Because for Vault City, again, I wimped out and I asked for a Radler. And it's like, oh, man, when looking back, like, they didn't have that much variety there. Should have just asked for something more interesting. I think it's like ideas for next time. Just like, just trying to find, like, having some like good pacing. I think it's the fact that we arrived maybe like an hour after it opened, so there was no chance of getting a seat, like no chance of getting a table, because that would have been better. We could have had a chance to kind of sit down and let your drink, because some of the drinks were ice cold, which helped in a sense because the hall was roasting. It got really warm really quick, but sometimes I kind of wanted my beer to warm up a little, just because I remember getting that root beer sour, and just it was just too cold to taste anything. I couldn't smell anything from it, and it just felt like it
was the same with Topaz.
I need to warm up.
I felt the same with Topaz, like, and it's quite funny because it's Kate that I remember telling me, Kate, the brewer at Innerby, telling me and Colin and Owen and James were part of that tasting as well. It's actually where I met them properly, and they were like, and she said like, you should be drinking all our beer ice cold. But I've always drank Topaz until that moment. I'd always drank Topaz at room temperature, and it's really punchy in the passion fruit kind of like it's really prevalent. But when it was cold, I kind of the same as saying like, and we talk about that quite a lot. Where like a lot of your sort of lower class not lower class breweries, but like Tennent's. I'm going to say Tennent's, right? Tennent's is a perfect example. Tennent's does their stuff extra cold. And we've had Cran on the show, and he's like, well, actually, the reason why they make it extra cold is to kind of mask the lack of flavour. So, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. But yeah, that it's funny that's kind of what we took away. My takeaways from it, I wish we'd had a seat. There was a couple of areas in the hall where they could have, like that bit where that bit by the foyer as you came in. They probably could have put a couple dozen, a couple dozen. I understand why they didn't. I spoke to people about it afterwards. I think personal learning probably like I wish we'd stuck to, and I don't know why we didn't. We're probably just starting to get drunk and not really thinking about it. But I ordered I ordered schooners quite a lot of the time, and actually, if I stuck to the half pints, I probably would have been able to particularly towards the end when I actually stopped taking notes of what I was drinking. Probably would have happened, and I would have been able to have like still been sober enough to really think about what I was drinking.
I think we did all right. It was definitely, I think when we got to the halfway point and then realized, oh yeah, they do food here as well. Let's quickly let's get something to eat before we continue.
That was going to be my other point. That was the other thing I thought was possibly lacking, and that was it's obviously I understand why in that, but I thought like the breweries were so like a big part of craft brewing for me is that sort of there's like, and it's probably again this is probably just me and personal preference. There's that kind of hipster kind of you're doing something a bit alternative. Most people drink. Most people that go out and drink will drink quantities of low percentage Tennent's as socially, whereas like as part of our sort of social behaviors, we'll go and we'll pick something a wee bit more like not interesting in inverted commas, just something more crafty. And I thought they could have maybe done that with food as well. Like a couple of decent like again that's just me again that's me going to music festivals and being spoiled, but like you could have done with like loaded fries and like
like your fancy food trucks. I've been to a couple of things where it's like the Bow House like markets, and they always have things like vans, like the Screaming Peacock and things. It's people that come in and do specialized. And as you said, it could just be varieties of dirty fries, where they've just got different toppings for your chips. Whereas the options that were available was kind of like school dinners, which wasn't necessarily bad. Like when you were needing something to eat.
Oh yeah.
Like cheesy I was given. Yeah, exactly. And I think I was told for years they were dishing out haggis, neeps, and tatties, and to me I was like, that's not really the option I would be looking for a craft beer festival, and maybe at like a Burns night. But if I'd been sitting having a lot of sour beer and just kind of wanting something funky like a smash burger or something like that. So the beer's fancy, so you'd imagine fancy food too, but kind of go wrong with chips, cheese, and curry sauce.
Like what I had was fine, and actually it probably did a better job at like settling my tummy. That was good. Overall really good. I would really like to go back next year, or even I would even consider going to the Edinburgh one.
I ordered tickets to that. I think the weekend they went on sale. I was just like, I think I was like, oh, I've just been paid. This is in October. This should be a laugh. And I've ordered tickets for that. Then realised I've double booked myself. I was planning on going to like a horror con in Manchester, but that was going to be a far more expensive weekend than a beer festival in Edinburgh.
But I do fancy the one in October. I saw they were on Calder and Craft Beer Merchant were put up on their Instagram about tickets for Big Swally going on sale. Stocks are still being available for sale, so I'm considering
I think
that.
they've announced 13 breweries at this point, and they aren't finished. So at least that could be a beer festival to go to without the expectation of, I'm going to try one from everyone.
Yeah.
They're at 13 and they're not finished yet. Like, you're definitely going to have to go and look for the interesting beers to try.
Yeah, I think so. We've also got we've been invited as one of 2 podcast guests for the Dundee BrewCon, Dundee Brewfest, I think they're calling it. Yeah, they've invited us along, which is amazing. And it's us and our friends at the Football Beer and Punk Rock podcast are the other podcasters. So I'm going to try and get, as I was going to say, I'm going to try and get in touch with them and see if they want to do something. But one of my oldest school friends is one of their hosts, so
nice.
So I'm hoping that obviously we do as well as the Brewgooders and like our kind of spin-offs for the wrestling. Me, Tom, and Andrew do a football one as well. So I'm going to see if we can use that as a carrot to try and get the Football Beer and Punk Rock guys on, because they're good banter. And if anyone likes listening to punk rock music and likes their beer, it's a really good podcast, and just got some Scottish football related nonsense on it as well. So it's basically us, but instead of comics, they talk about football, and instead of geek stuff, they listen to music. So it's good. It's a good podcast. Right, yeah. So Big Spally was great. I'm looking forward to it. I did walk away thinking I need to go to more beer festivals. That was my other takeaway from the night. So.
It's definitely like a great chance. Like, as I said, it's a chance that you get to kind of meet people, like-minded people, get to actually talk to the breweries. Depending on the time of the day, if it's the later half of the day, you're talking to them a lot more than you would at the start of the day.
And they're less looking forward to having your conversation later on in the day as well.
Aye. But no, you're a great guy for like ice breaking. Like, you're definitely asking. Like, I'll just like you just being like this social butterfly talking to all the breweries, and I'm still looking at like, do I want to have a sour now? And then just seems like just you having this in-depth conversation going on the other side of the table. I'm like, has he even chose his beer?
No, I didn't.
I'm too busy having conversations with myself.
I think the fact that it was
best friends with one of the brewers.
I think that the fact that it was Dunfermline based was I thought about that, because I did say afterwards to folk, I was like, I don't think Stu really knew what to make of, like, it was in Dunfermline, and so obviously Dunfermline's a big town, but the whole thing about Dunfermline is it's quite a small big town. So like we went in there and straight away chatted to Grum, who Grum Tag, who's like a pal of the podcast anyway. He's a frequenter of the same pubs that me and Andrew and I go to, so see him quite a lot. I think he's a contributing artist to Colin's Dunfermline story. He's just a really good guy. So we chatted to him like the moment we went in, and then 2 of my good pals, Odin and James, were there as well. So we hung out with them for a wee while, and then by that point we were getting quite drunk, and then there was that woman and that man and women I was speaking to, similarly because I recognised them from the school run. So we ended up talking to them for like 10 minutes. But yeah, it was good fun. It was really good. But that helped, because then I was going to breweries, all chatted, in a chat frame of mind. So
aye.
Bring on the next brewer. Bring on the next beer festival. That'll be good fun.
Definitely.
Have you read anything this week? Have you done any comic shit?
Nothing comic related. Let's change the banner.
Yeah, no, I read a comic because I figured when I worked out it was just gonna be me and you, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do the comic bit. I read. I don't know where this came from. I was cleaning out my stuff today, and I found this anthology called Hidden Lives, which I don't know where it came from. I assume I maybe picked it up at a con, obviously, maybe at Thought Bubble last year. That's all the stories are by Tony Esmond, and then he's got like a different artist to help on each story. But it's all about, like, it's an anthology of like every story is like a couple of like between 2 and 6 pages, but all to do with like sort of marginalized members of society that, or like people that you would meet, and they'd be really pleasant, and you would enjoy chatting to them, and you would have no idea about like just the mad amount of trauma that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was excellent. Some really good standout stories there. One about a man and his wife who had, from her perspective, they'd been involved in an armed robbery that had gone wrong, and so they were carrying out their marriage from different prisons, basically through like pen paling and stuff. And it was really nice. So this like weird romantic writing notes to each other kind of love story across prisons, which I thought was really good. But that some really good stuff. Art for so all the stories were by Tony Esmond, but art from Rachel Ball, who's really good. Cliff Cumber, loads of folk. Johnny Cannon, who's a friend of the podcast, been on the show. Dan Butcher, also a friend of the podcast, been on the show. So I was like, I have no idea where this came from, but then I had no idea where this came from. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, like Johnny Cannon's got a story in here. He's a total dude. I think his name's in here somewhere. He's down there.
Oh yeah, on the banner.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like a page advertising the mental health charity Mind, and an advert for the Awesome podcast, which is another podcast everyone should be checking out. Often beat us in the we get it the who's it that does the Comic Scene Awards that happen at the end of the year.
Oh right, yeah.
The Awesome Comics podcast always finish higher on the podcast ranking list than we do. So yeah, they're great. It's a great podcast. I recommend it. It's a great anthology. I assume I picked this up at Thought Bubble. So if you're at something like Thought Bubble, you'll maybe see us. I know Crana's got a table. I know Andrew's talking about going down, and Colin's talking about going down. I don't know if I'm going to go down yet. It's an expensive weekend. And it's November, so I don't know what I'm doing in November yet. But so that was there we go. That's my comic for this week. Assorted Geekery. Well, I'll change the banner. I've got a banner for this.
I felt like I did have something to talk about before. I watched the first episode of Fallout, the big Amazon Prime TV series, but I felt like I watched something equally geeky earlier this week, and it's gone. I probably should have taken it.
Well, I'm assuming we'll get there when we chat about it. What did you make of Fallout? Was it all right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was dark, bloody, funny. There's just the total anxiety in the first 10 minutes, where it's sort of like a children's party and the nukes are falling, like the kind of showing you the nuclear fallout. But then it cuts to kind of your Vault Tech characters, like your protagonist Lucy, who lives in the vault underground and has this has been 200 years underground. So, but it's so much imagery from the games, and it's got the sort of the right old-fashioned music, and probably some actual lifted from the games themselves.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, and it looks exactly what you would imagine a Fallout TV show to look like, but it's told across 3 characters. So you have Lucy, the vault dweller, who is on the verge of going out to the real world for the first time. Then you have Maximus, who is someone that's recruited into the Brotherhood of Steel, which is kind of like your big military faction. And then you have a personally referred to as the Ghoul, who is what I believe is a former TV star who got caught in the nuclear fallout, and his skin's kind of like how you have ghouls in the game, like their nose is melted off. It's like their skin's melted off, but he was buried underground and kept alive, and he's been brought back out. And it's Walter Goggins playing this character. So he's just this gunslinger with a cowboy hat and
I
no
love
face.
Walter Goggins. He's like one of my favorite underrated actors. I didn't realize he was in it. That's maybe that's like a. I've never played Fallout, and there's certain people that will give me a hard time for that. And but so I don't know the story. I was going to ask you: is it got its tongue in its cheek? Is there like a
it's definitely got a dark humor to it. There's like a joke in the first episode where the fact that they all live in vaults, they're small, close-knit communities, and Lucy is like going through like an application for marriage, and is more or less is like an exchange program with like another vault, another underground society. So she was sitting explaining like I'm good at this. It was sort of like a job interview, and she talks about how she like her ovaries are in good condition. She's ready to procreate for America. I am aware that you cannot marry your cousin, and that's just a stage that you go through as a teenager. But we're beyond that now. It's just things like when she's getting ready to leave, the guy opening the vault is her cousin. It's like, oh, the button's not working. Just stay here with me.
no. I was gonna say when you're saying like a Water Gog, that's quite an interesting casting. So I associate him with he's one of my favorite actors. I just think he's hilarious. But Righteous Gemstones. Have you ever seen the Righteous Gemstones?
I've heard of it. I love him in the Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight.
Yeah, he's great in it. Yeah.
He's like the sheriff of Red Rock. But it's just he's got that accent, that southern drawl perfected. And he's the same here. He was playing like a gunslinging, like TV cowboy, and now he's doing. It's like Ghostbusters. He's now doing children's parties to make ends meet, and it's like on.
This is like a perfect. This is like a perfect role for him. He's got that kind of look about him. Obviously, in the Righteous Gemstones, he plays Baby. His character's called Baby Bobby. He's like obviously he's like a man in his 50s. I don't know how old he actually is in real life, but he plays like a late 50s, early 60s character, a Euro character in the Righteous Gemstones. But he still calls himself Baby Bobby, even though that was his nickname growing up in this televangelist family. So that's the name that like he was the baby of the family in the 70s, but he still uses that name, and it's like 50 years later. And he's just great. Like he's just he's clearly less about the religion and more about the money, and it's all about like the fact that and I imagine that his Fallout character will be the same, like that he's like he has ideas he's got.
And that's I think the pre-Fallout where he was kind of like an actor on Hard Times, and then post Fallout he's now just kind of assumed the role as I am a cowboy. Actually, you can't kill me, and just kind of gets dug up, and then just puts his hat on, pistols out, and is like, this does look like it's almost like the good, the bad, and the ugly, the characters. Because Lucy is just so good and like try hard that she's really naive, and then Maximus, and there's some controversy about how he gets chosen to become a member of the Brotherhood, and then you've got the Ghoul, who's just a wild card. So it is 8 episodes, and the first episode was like 75 minutes, just kind of like a nice meaty pilot episode. And Kyle MacLachlan's in there as well.
Oh, I love Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, he plays the father of Lucy.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I've not seen him in a while, actually. Well, I saw him a couple weeks ago, so I watched the June 1980s film that he's in.
Yeah,
he plays Paul in that. Say he's better than Timothy Chalamet, but that's a personal opinion. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I really like him. I should check out. I haven't played the game, so I had like no interest in the because that one. And there's like a Borderlands movie coming out soon as well.
Yeah,
that's right.
Interested.
And like folk are going mental about the casting in that, and I'm just like,
I know you've got. Is it Robert Rodriguez? No, or Eli Roth. One of them's directing it.
I guess Eli Roth. Yeah.
But it looks so, I don't know, clean and mass produced. But yeah, it's I don't know. They were saying with, I think, Kate Blanchett's one of the leads, and she was saying they were really trying to channel Escape from New York when making the movie, and that's kind of made me like, maybe I'll give it a chance.
I saw the trailer last week and thought it looked all right. Not a massive fan of the cast, apart from Kate Blanchett. I don't. I think Kevin Hart's fine, but like I think he stars in a lot of movies that I don't think. Like he stars in a lot of movies that I don't necessarily care for, like buddy cop movies and stuff like that. And
a lot of times, I feel like he gets cast in movies to be Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
there's never like a stretch where it's right. No, we need you to be dead serious. Now we just need you to scream and run away from something. I mean, Jack Black casted as like the claptrap robot probably is a good, but yeah, it's too many famous faces. It's hard to kind of like. It's only going to be Kevin Hart. It's not going to be. God, what was the character's name? Rolex.
I don't know the character. I thought Kate Blanchett looked cool in it. That's Anna said the Borderlands movie. Casting is horrendous, but I thought the trailer looked all right.
Yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis is in there somewhere as well.
Yeah, she is. She is. Like I think. I say I don't know the movie. I don't know the games. The same with Fallout. I don't know the games, so it's a bit like that whole thing where like now that I've started playing it and I've seen the film, I watched it. I've been like, this is how behind on the times are. I got the Uncharted collection for Sonny's PS4. I've been playing that. I'm like, this is fucking excellent. How amazing are these games? And it was like, yeah, we all knew that, Jeff, 12 years ago when the first one came out. You know, but really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. And when you watch it now, when you watch the movie, and you're like, Nathan Drake isn't. It's Tom Holland that plays Nathan.
Tom Holland, aye.
And then they've got Sully, who in the games is like an older man in his like 50s, 60s with like with white hair and a mustache, and they've got played by Marky Mark.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I get it. I can get the casting controversy there. I read an article about that movie that like my favorite bit of the movie is when I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a bit where Tom Holland walks onto a beach having like survived this mental like stunt filled sequence where he's like hanging at the back of a plane and then has to like drive a car. And then when he walks past Nolan North, who's the voice of Nathan Drake in the in the game, and he walks past and Nolan North is like sunbathing on his ledger. He takes his glasses off. He's like, "What happened to you?" And he's like, "I just fell at the back of a plane in a car." And then walks away, and then Nolan North kind of just looks like shouts over his corner, like, "Yeah, something like that happened to me once." And you're like, I thought it was a good joke, but apparently the internet hates that scene. Like they're like, "Oh, it's too on the nose." So I was like, "How?" Like, yeah, it was cool. It was an obvious joke, but I thought it was fun enough. Did you work out what your other geeky thing was yet? No.
Nah, because I think it was nah. I finished watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is now finished altogether. But that's not geeky.
That's fine. We talk about Ted Lasso quite a lot on this show.
But no, it's definitely like I've had a few days off with Easter holidays, so I've been playing a lot of PlayStation games. Well, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm 44 hours into that game. It's just a giant epic fantasy game, which I believe could take between 30 to 90 hours to complete, depending how into side quests do you want to be, type of thing. Like you could concentrate on the main story, but if you go over here, and then
there's that guy's lost his dog. Like,
yeah,
I love a good side quest. Like
so.
Yeah.
And maybe lots of wrestling this weekend as well. Might all taking some time.
We're getting there. I'm checking. So Big Spally happened. I went home and my friend Craig came over to watch WrestleMania with me. And so, but I don't know how we got onto it. but there was a point where myself, Craig, my sons Sean and Sonny we watched Dodgeball on Saturday night. I don't know.
Okay.
That
was it just on the telly? And
no, like why did we put it on? I think I grew up with Craig and we spent a long time watching those kind of movies. And I think one of us used a Dodgeball reference and Sean didn't get it. He was like, oh, okay. I don't know. And we're like, we'll get it on now. So we just watched it. There's some, it's still very funny, but like, it's very obvious. It was like 20 years ago that film came out. And there's some jokes on there that just, like, a couple of times where like, that we all laughed and then went, oh my God. Like, that's horrible.
Probably can't use that now.
Yeah. But then it put me and Sean on it. So I then watched on Monday night. I watched Old School. Have you seen Old School with Will Ferrell?
Oh yes, that's a classic.
It is a classic. Some jokes that haven't aged very well. Other jokes that are
I can imagine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is that still the best bit in possibly in cinema history, where they're kidnapping all the pledges and they kidnap the guy as he's shopping with his wife. And like as they're driving away, as they fire him into the back of the van, and you've got Master of Puppets by Metallica playing. Yeah. And the wife has no idea what's going on, and she's freaking out. And Will Ferrell wearing like pantyhose over his head, like a balaclava, goes like, "If you tell anyone about this, and I'll fucking kill you." And then he turns away and he just, "I'm kidding. We'll have him back tonight." It's just like it's just so brutal. And it's like,
he was feeling the moment.
So I watched that, and then on Monday night / Tuesday, and wee bit of Wednesday, me and Sean watched Interstellar.
Okay, that's good.
He hadn't seen it. It's a great film. I would again argue, like I had this argument this week, but I would put, like I was saying, like Dune 2 is excellent, and we talked about it quite a lot last week. But Dune 2 is excellent, and I would put it quite high on my list of sci-fi movies of all time. Yeah, but like it's up there with Interstellar. I think, and for me, that's like an accolade in Jeff's personal sci-fi headcanon. And Interstellar is great and talks about all these different themes about the idea that gravity is like gravity is a force that can travel any dimension, but then so's love and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I can see why it takes a lot of shit, but I remember going in to watch the film, well aware of. There's got to be that Nolan moment where, like, he just takes your brain, turns into a balloon animal, and puts it back. There's got to be that moment where you go, "What?"
Yeah,
it's the whole
movie. I've been watching a lot of Nolan stuff this year. Actually, me and Sean watched Inception, then we watched Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. He does it in all his films where it's like, and I quite like it. But I can imagine like a lot of folk get annoyed with it, where he ends his movies almost in a way that you wish there was another 10-15 minutes of the movie. Like he leaves it, and obviously Interstellar, it's the bit where they kind of spin the twist at the end, so that like I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's not seen it. And then they do it in Inception again, where the whole thing about like how your totems work, and then all that kind of stuff. So like he does it in all his movies. I think
the twist to like Prestige was great as well.
It's marvelous.
It's just but it's definitely like moments where it just blows your mind, and you're like, even the fact that the guy they defrost halfway through Interstellar was, there's a guy in here, and they open it up, and it's like, it's him.
Yeah,
there can't be anything possibly wrong with him. He's a totally stand-up guy that won't betray us. What a guy!
His name was Dr. Mann. Yeah, his first name was Hugh. Did you clock that? No. I was really hoping that he was going to be the same. Like, this is just a spin-off movie to The Martian. That guy just was like, I was going to just try and plant Totties over here as well, but it didn't happen. It's just I love the fact that the robots are just like walking double door fridges, like just big vending machines. I like that they subvert me and Sean were talking about. I like that they subvert the trope and then even make a joke of it when there's the whole like evil AI tropes like just been overdone. Obviously, 2001 with HAL is like the main one. The idea that your AI is going to turn against you, and then they even make a joke of it in their stories, like I don't trust AI, and it's like, and I think one of the robots is like, don't worry, man, I'm not going to kill you. You know, if I kill you, I won't have any workers for my apocalyptic robot society or something like that. And they're like, Yeah, he's got. And then one of the guys is like, I fit a humor protocol to him, just stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. I really like Matt Damon's character in that. As a Doctor Shoe Man, which they only ever call him Doctor Man on screen, but if you look at him on his pod just before
the credits,
he's Doctor Shoe Man. He's great, and there's an amazing scene where like the twist with his character happens, and he is just like, he's so stoic even when he's doing horrible things. Like he's doing these horrible things, but he's like, I'm doing this for all mankind, and it's like, no, you're not. You're just an insane asshole now. But it's just really, really good.
And it's like one of those films. Like the score is exceptional.
Hans Zimmer,
it's just mental. It's an absolute 10 out of 10 film.
It's that piece of music. There's the bit where like, it's just filmed. There's the sequence in the film for me where it's like the one of the landers blows up, and then the Endurance is spinning into that planet's orbit. So they have to dock. They have to do this really stupid docking maneuver that's physically impossible with the closure. And it's just, that's what you're saying about the score. It's that I've got the track on my running playlist. It's called No Time for Caution, and it's just Hans Zimmer, the finest Hans Zimmer score in 6 minutes. And then there's just this. I really like that whole scene is brutal, and it's just really like, oh my god, like this is so intense. It's so intense, and then it finally stops, and then the music stops, and there's just this moment of silence, and then Anne Hathaway's character just breaks down into like crying and laughing at the same time, because it's just so it's so insane. And then Matthew McConaughey looks at her and goes, "And what's going to be our next trick?" And you're like, "Oh my god!"
The casting is brilliant.
Great. So yeah, Assorted Geekery. I also I don't want to talk too much about it because I know we wanted to do WrestleMania chat as well. But I'm almost caught up with X-Men 97. I've seen the first 4 episodes of 5.
Cool.
I'm saving episode 5 because I've heard it's like the best, and I'm really enjoying it. It's great. And if anyone's not seen X-Men 97, you should really check it out. It's like 1992 series with an adult twist. They just did an episode of Jubilee that I thought I was going to hate because nobody likes Jubilee. But she gets tricked into using a new computer console that's called a Montendo, and she turns it on, and it's the intergalactic alien slave master, was it Mondo, who like he kidnaps people. He owns all these planets for everyone as like a slave, and he keeps them under control by like making sure that they're entertained, like the whole Roman, the bread and circus thing. So he keeps them entertained by like creating all these amazing TV shows and then broadcasting. And he often does things like steal superheroes and make them like fight to the death and stuff. And he does stuff like that.
Yeah.
But his new scheme is that he creates a computer game, and that when you play it, you get sucked into the game, and you have all the levels in the game are based on your on your own anxieties and fears.
Right.
So so while you're playing through the game, he's broadcasting the game to like the masses. So he does it with Jubilee. And there's a whole sequence where one of the levels she fights in switches to 2D, and it looks like the old 1990s X-Men arcade. Where they beat him up with a player 1, player 2 in the corner, and then like it's just really cool. It's like, oh, I remember playing this game in the 90s. Yeah, very clever. So it's good. Everyone should check out. And as I say, there's 5 episodes. I've not seen the 5th one yet, but I've heard it's like sort of early reactions on the internet are saying it could be like the best 30 minutes of animated television. So yeah, so I'm quite happy I'm excited about it. Will we move on to Brew Age Outlaws?
I think so.
Yeah, so like thank you everyone who has joined us for the beer contest or geekery. Stay tuned, join us as we move on if you want to. We're going to talk about me and Stu are big massive wrestling fans, and it was a big weekend for us. If not, like, we'll see you all next week. Hopefully we'll have John back to keep us under control, and Andrew too. Andrew was going to join us tonight, but he's not feeling very well, so get well, Andrew. He messaged me privately because I think he was feeling shit about not being here, and I was like, that's totally fine. But yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you everyone for staying if you're watching the Brew Age Outlaws. So last week was freaking mental, wasn't it? It's like, what a busy weekend that.
I'll preface this by saying I have only watched both Nights of Mania and the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. I know there was like about 30 shows to watch, but
that's fine. Yeah, no, you're
it's a lot. It's a lot to consume.
Well, yeah, and I think that's one of the prevailing themes of that weekend. I actually was watching a lot of the collective stuff I was sending you screen grabs and videos of shit that was happening because it was funny.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. The GCW stuff was great fun. Spent a lot of time just videoing and sending you and other people the entrances and stuff that I thought was funny. So like there was this Japanese killer wrestler from Dragon Gate / Noah called Mao, and his entrance tune was "That's What You Get." I can't remember what the name of the song's called. It's not called that. It's a Paramore song. He basically stands on the ring apron and has the crowd going, "That's what you get when you let your heart win." And it was like, but then he goes in the ring and is like Suzuki style killing machine.
Murders his opponent.
Yeah. But yeah, there was also cool. I saw Suzuki wrestle Masha Slamovich in a match. It was Masha Slamovich, a Japanese woman whose name escapes me, versus Suzuki and is it Masato Tanaka from old ECW, the guy that used to wrestle Mike Awesome quite a lot.
Right.
One of these guys that's done so much garbage wrestling that
then forehead looks like a chopping board.
Yeah, but it was a tag team match of the two male wrestlers versus the two female wrestlers, and it was really hard hitting. But I remember watching it and thinking they've done this as a stunt to have like two female garbage wrestlers versus two male garbage wrestlers. But like the standard was brilliant. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Saw a lot of Session. Is it Session Martina? Yeah. I haven't seen her live, but I know she comes to Scotland a fair bit for like ICW and Discovery. I've not seen her live, but she comes out to Cascada holding 2 beer cans and is like getting drunk in the crowd and stuff. Quite enjoyed that. Like a weird sort of British Ned version. I think she's from Dublin. But like this sort of like Ned, this Ned Raver version of Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I was digging.
Yeah.
And that was cool. But yeah, and I watched a bit of Supercard, but I was so tired, and I was like, actually, if I don't sleep, I'm going to really struggle at Big Swally, and we've got WrestleMania Night 1 tomorrow night. So
yeah.
What did you think of Supercard though? I heard it was all right.
Yeah, no, I quite enjoyed what I'd seen of it. It was on in the background whilst I was working, but there was a lot of times where I was like, oh, I'm going to have to rewind that because that sounded nasty. And it was like Kyle Fletcher had a match, and it was just elbows, just absolute, just I think it was Lee Moriarty he was fighting, but they were just going to town on each other. And again, I think you told me about this, the Billy Starks versus Queen Anamata.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah, there was like one point where Queen did like a sliding boot out the ring, and it looked like she just took Billy's face right off. It was disgusting. There was clearly not a safe way to take that kick to the face as she jumped out the ring. And I just like, oh, God. But yeah, that big swerve at the end where it would just look like a big neck injury, and the match stopped, and it's always like, is that a stunt? Is this legit? Because you always wonder like how the camera crews react to like an injury. I always feel like if they focus on it a lot, then you feel like, right, we're in on it. But when the cameras try and cut away and look at other things, then like, and it was a good mix of.
I don't know, like I saw that bit, and I think AEW in particular are really bad. It reminds me, and like, you know, we're both massive fans of that company, and shoot me down because I'm starting to sound like an internet critic here. One of these guys that troll like your wrestling Reddits and stuff, but I think AEW do that quite a lot. To like, they do these kind of stunts that feel very old WCW, where they like use techniques that we're kind of aware, like the holding the X up for an injury, like listening to the internet fans talking about, I don't know, like the thing this week we're seeing Punk's like backstage stuff in London and stuff. I'm just like, just you've got the best roster in the world. Just put on good matches, and everyone will be happy.
Yeah,
and I think when I saw that thing at Ring of Honor, when there were that like neck injury thing, I was like, I don't hope that obviously I want everyone to be okay, but I really hope this isn't just a kayfabe fucking swervy thing.
Yeah.
So,
but I felt like they played it long enough where you fell for it, and then when the German suplex or the chokehold kicked in, and he's just like, "You bastards!" Like, I let my guard down, and he's made a fool of me. But
I just don't know if I like that. I don't know. That's not why I don't. I like to watch wrestling to be surprised and that, but I'm like, it just feels quite a cheap way to do it. To play on legitimate health concerns rather than story annoys me a wee bit. Yeah, but no, what I noticed because obviously I was watching loads of GCW, which is obviously a bigger indie in the American scene, probably one of the bigger indies, in America, and then Ring of Honor, which has obviously got was the super indie and has now got the financial backing and production of AEW. Well, I noticed that I spoke about this week as well. The idea that the wrestling on GCW was probably immense. I think we talked about this a wee bit in the car. It was probably immense because of the production values. A lot of the drama was maybe you were losing a wee bit of it just because of that. Sorry, there's a car on off on my street.
Yeah, I thought it was my street there.
Yeah, I think if the production values aren't crisp, you maybe lose a lot of the drama. And what I noticed with Ring of Honor is because a lot of the Ring of Honor guys, like Billy Starks, for example, were involved in other shows I saw over the weekend. And I thought maybe her Ring of Honor match wasn't as good as the stuff I was seeing her do elsewhere. But
the
production was so good that it added to the drama in the way that these amazing matches for smaller companies that don't have the production values to make them look epic.
Yeah.
So that was my big takeaway from watching all the indie stuff. I thought Supercards, as I say, I just think I think Ring of Honor is falling a wee bit into the idea of it being a bit like NXT for AEW.
Yeah, because that's I kept getting surprised when certain people were showing up, going, I've not seen that person for a while. They've ended up here. But even that 6-man tag with who you call it, Lance Archer, and then they brought out Minoru Suzuki, and then they had a good match. But yeah, I mean, obviously you had Bullet Club Gold there too, but they were holding the trios tag belts, so you'd expect them to be there. But no, it was fine. It was definitely sure it wasn't a spectacular 10 out of 10 show, but there was memorable moments.
It's good. I just want I read an article about what AEW could do to improve this year, because arguably they're like the actual wrestling on their shows that they're putting on is great, but then they're doing a bit of stunty. They're doing a lot of like this sort of fourth wall breaking stunty stuff, like the Young Bucks playing that footage, and just like that's totally unnecessary. And actually, it's attention grabby rather than quality.
That was like a bad idea from the second it was announced, and then watching it kind of just confirms like it was last August.
Yeah,
like
it was purely done this week because CM Punk was a big deal at WrestleMania, wasn't it? And it was like that. It was just like otherwise they would have shown that footage ages ago.
But
just again, I just felt a wee bit like I say the comparisons with WCW when it was starting to struggle, trying to latch on to what the WWE, like saying we're better than our opponents, and like obviously like I always remember that Tony Schiavone promo where he actually says like, you know, if you're thinking about turning over to their channel, don't, you know, we can confirm here that Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here, is going to win the world title. You know, that bum's going to win the world title. That'll put bums on seats. I think Tony, like I've read Tony's autobiography, and he's like, I didn't want to say that. I was told to say that. I'm actually good friends with Mick Foley, blah blah blah. But then instead of like folk not changing the channel because they thought, apparently left it like it meant 500,000 folk watching WCW switched over straight away because they wanted to see it. You're like, yeah, you've literally turned folk off your own product. Like, one of the suggestions I saw about, particularly about Ring of Honor, so I was reading a Cultaholic article about like 10 things they could do to make AEW better, and one of the things was give it, do what they've done with NXT and give it to someone else. So, and they were suggesting like Daniel Bryan or Dustin Rhodes or something like that. Just go right. You're now booking this show, and like see how they get on, because it can't like. I think Ring of Honor could be amazing, but it doesn't feel like Ring of Honor.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely it doesn't have as well. I guess they have to grow their own talent, but I think the big attraction of Ring of Honor was all those big names that I had back in the day, or up and coming indies that were really, really getting like the internet buzzing.
Yeah, totally. And I think they can get that. Like, I think they've got everything there. They've got everything there to make that happen. They've got like Athena is incredible.
Yes, she did great.
Obviously, Billy Starks is the one that come up, and there's loads of other indie darlings. And then, again, like old school Ring of Honor, they would bring in like a name from Japan, like they brought Suzuki in. It just feels like it could be better, and I don't know why it's not. I think one of the big online suggestions is that Tony Khan has just spread himself too thin, and
I can imagine that. Yeah.
He's too obsessed with like a small, instead of just telling a story, he's too obsessed with what a small portion of the internet are thinking. And I don't know how true that is.
Exactly. But I mean, when there's times you see him doing these Twitter rants and you're just thinking.
When I think about AEW at its best, I'm thinking Hangman Page on his like anxiety attacks, and then like his like comeback from like mental health to being world champion. That was genuinely like heartening. It was a really like motivational story, and it had nothing to do with what the fuck are they saying on WWE television this week? What can we do to counter product that? There's no need. Do your best, and then folk will stay. Then WrestleMania was the big event.
Yeah, that happened.
I want to hold my hands up and say I probably genuinely haven't enjoyed the WrestleMania as much as I enjoyed this year since before COVID. Actually, maybe WrestleMania 30 was maybe the last time I remember being genuinely into wrestling like I was for WrestleMania this weekend. I just thought it was like the great stuff was like epic. The shit stuff wasn't that bad. Like, I think my only I was in a group chat on night one, and then I think everyone got tired and it didn't continue into night two. But the worst match was probably Jay Jimmy, and that was middling. Like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't as good as it could have been. And that I don't think that's a massive criticism actually. So
no, because I mean you had like I'm going to start getting my nights mixed up, but what night you had? I think it was actually that was night 2, where you had the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley taking on Karrion Kross's stable. Like, even the fact that they were bringing out tables, you got Bully Ray to come out, and Snoop Dogg on commentary. There's so many.
You need to get Snoop Dogg on commentary more often. He's brilliant. Really good. He was
just this drunk fan that reacted to everything. And he was like also the hype man to everyone there, and just talking about his affection for Big Bobby. Just it was brilliant. But no, like I always love like a big gimmick match at Mania, so like the tag team titles being in this ladder match was crazy, and it was great that they were separating the titles and people were getting a chance. Like 2 teams were getting a chance to win. And I always cringe at like when people are on the top of a ladder and it starts to tilt, and like there was that moment where like Damian Priest was climbing up a ladder that was clearly buckled and referees were trying to stop him.
Was
it Damian Priest?
He thought it was a wrestler. It's not like it was like one of the female referees grabbed his ankle, didn't she? And he turned around and went, "Fuck off!" And then I think he realised it wasn't a wrestler. And then he obviously came down, and they were able. I thought that was quite smooth that they were able to get rid of the shit ladder and bring a better one in.
Yeah,
It didn't feel like it didn't feel like it took it.
They had to reset themselves, and I mean that's the amount of people that were just throwing around. What was it? JD McDonough's from the ladder. Like, God's sake. Like the velocity that he went down and smashed through that table was sickening.
Yeah, it was sickening. That was the only bit I was like, oh, that's quite convoluted, because he just stood there for ages going, no, don't push me, don't push me. It's like, get off the ladder.
Yeah,
just step off. Don't stand there shaking your head in fear. Climb down.
But
like they're not.
It's always the thing where the ladder is a wrestler's kryptonite. Like they're a full athlete until they touch a ladder, and then like, oh,
yeah.
I think William Regal was best, where like he just had a fear of heights, or it was him or Dave Taylor, and they got the ladder and like they couldn't even get on the first rung. Like, oh, I can't.
So I think yeah, some great highlights. But we try and fire like, so I've got the spreadsheet up. We did a spreadsheet last week. We'll just go through it and see.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try and keep it as much to. Like obviously we talked about this. I didn't know what order they do the matches in. Was it the first match was the women's title match, and that was epic.
Yes, Becky and Rhea.
Yeah, just really, really good. A really tight match. A great opener. We all said Rhea was going to retain, and she did. So, yeah, I thought it was great. I really liked that she had the band that came out and sung her ring entrance, and
yes,
she sung it word for word all the way down the ramp. She was loving it. Where I've sometimes seen wrestlers come out to ring entrances and they're not really paying attention to the music, but she was just like, I don't know, it was like she was a fan. Yeah, it was really cool. It was a great match as well. A great way to start. And then what was next? It was the ladder match after that, where we both had a pick that won that. So you had All Town,
A-Town Down Under.
Yeah, so they won. They took a brutal they won the first set of belts and then took a brutal
and then were promptly killed off.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. And then the Awesome Truth won the second pair of belts, which included that really awesome moment where R-Truth forgot he was in a ladder match and got the hot tag.
Exactly.
It was really good. I also fair play to also, like, I don't really care for the Miz all that much, but fair play for him for actually tagging him and just going, right, whatever. I thought that was really...
Whatever will get you the match, come on.
Yeah, that was cool. And like you said, it was a bit of a stunt show. It was insane. I think the next match was then maybe the tag team with Dom and...
Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, and Andrade. Yeah. That was a bit forgettable, but
it was forgettable, and I think we said that.
I can't think of any big moments, but
there was one. Was it this one, or it might have been? I'm trying to think. I think it was this match. The bit at the end when it all got a bit mental, but they did the thing where they pulled down the middle rope, and I think is it Escobar that stands on it, or someone stands on it, and then they pull the middle rope.
They shouted that they wanted a WrestleMania moment, and they just
they put him in the air. Yeah, that was cool. That was really I watched.
I'm glad that worked and didn't end up on like Botchamania for going horribly wrong.
But that was cool. I watched it again yesterday, watching the top 40 moments of WrestleMania, and I forgot how good it looked. Like just pung him. Like I don't know. I don't want to say how far he travelled, but he just went flying. It was like he was shot out of a cannon. It was really cool. And then they did that thing where like they got two American footballers out at the end to. Which I actually thought killed the match like quicker than I thought it was going to go. I thought we had another couple of minutes, but it's fine. Forgettable, like you say. But we all thought we didn't get that one right because we all said Dom's team would win, and so I was surprised that So, and then I've got the Usos, the Battle of the Usos, which was mid. Was what I put in my notes afterwards. Is like that match was very okay.
That's it. Not every match can be
Yeah, and I think that's by design as well. But I liked it when they were punching each other and the crowd were going yeet, no yeet. That was quite funny. It was
Yes, they've
really
got that going for them.
that was cool. And then you had that the women's trios match, which was quite it was what you expected it to be. Like, they would so it was the Kabuki All Warriors.
Oh
and
yeah. Okay,
versus
Jade
Naomi, and who's the third man on their team? Jade, Cargill, Naomi, and Becca Belair.
Bianca.
Yeah, Bianca Belair. Sorry, that was that was fine. It was fine. I think Jade looked amazing.
Yeah, aye.
I think
they got that big entrance.
Mm-hmm.
They got the scissor lift.
That was well cool. I thought
Yeah.
I thought Jade's there was like I'm a fan of ring gear. Anyway, I always like it when, particularly in the entrances, when they come out with like a crafty, like when they come out, like obviously Cody on night 2 coming out dressed like one of the skeletons and stuff like that. I quite like that stuff. But Jade's ring gear looked like, and I haven't checked up on it, but she looked like the robot out of that silent German movie Metropolis. You know the.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, she looked excellent, and they used her really well. So she got the hot tag, and she just nailed everyone.
Yeah,
this is like that's what they need to get her to do until she wins the world title. To be honest. And then is that all night one? No, obviously. Sorry, no, I've got 2 matches from night 1 left. The Sammy Gunther match, which was awesome.
Yeah, I was almost doubting my pick of Sammy winning until they showed you it from the shot backstage, and he's with his wife and kid, and then he meets Chad, and there's Kevin Owens waiting at the end of the hall for him. He's like, oh no, they're hyping him up too big. This is changing.
I thought the right call was made there as well. I think we were talking about before we went to air. I think Sammy wasn't the first choice in the storylines, but actually, I think as a result, his storyline was maybe shorter than it needed to be. In the build-up, he could have dealt with more adversity, I think, to make that story really pop. But I think they did a really good job on the night of making it like Sammy will not be able to win this. It's not doable. Then he did his old El Generico finisher in the corner. You know the brainbuster.
Yeah, aye. Which like dangerous looking move.
Yeah, I popped for it though. Like watching it live, I was like, oh, that was like I was looking at Craig. I was like, that's when he was like in the Indies and he was wearing a mask still, and it was called that was his finisher. It's like, oh my god, like, and then really good. Yeah. And then there was the main event tag team match, which took so long.
Aye.
It was like half between. I think somebody put up online that between the start of the hype package following Sammy's match and the actual start of the actual wrestling was like 30 minutes. And then when the bell rung, it was 30 minutes. And then when the bell between entrances and stuff like that, and then when the bell rung, it was really slow paced. There was a lot of like The Rock standing there, like looking like he was better than everyone, and they just kept doing that over and over again. It's like, and then they did the Attitude Era brawling in the crowd stuff, and I was just like, I'm not enjoying this the way I want to be enjoying this.
Aye.
And then it got great at the end. So
yeah, that was it. I think I'd seen something that it was the statistics were saying it was like the second longest WrestleMania match on record behind like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels Iron Man match. But it was like definitely kind of you're watching 4 hours of wrestling. You kind of appreciate if they start speeding up towards the end.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, I think that as well. Obviously, it's the curse of watching wrestling as a wrestling fan in the UK live. Is that like I remember when the Sammy celebration was cut, so they could start. They cut from a celebration of the title to start the build up for the next match, and I was like, oh, actually, it's like I think at that point it was like, oh, it's 20 to 3. This might be over earlier than I think it would be. That would be quite good, but then by the time that match was finished, it was like 4 o'clock. I was like, oh, that was a long time actually.
You could add like a quick kip before the match began.
Yeah,
a wee
Aye,
power
that for
nap.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was fine. It's fine, and it had the right result, and building up more hurdles for Cody for night two. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and then night two was I like night one was great. I really enjoyed night one. I think the general consensus seems to be that night one was great and night two was epic. Whereas
Mm.
I thought the highs of night two were brilliant, but I did think there was quite a lot of mid stuff as well. But that was all right. So you had
Yeah.
the Drew Seth match at the start, which was
Yes.
amazing. Drew won,
Aye.
and then showed at CM Punk for longer than he needed to, and got
Yeah.
jumped. So,
Aye. It was that moment where mid match he went over to his wife and started pissing about with a phone. And it's like,
yeah,
is he taking a selfie? But I'd seen later that he was actually posting on Twitter. And it was just a tweet saying bored at work, LOL.
yeah, that was great. Love it.
Aye.
Yeah, I
And then
thought it was
he
good.
reposted that like an hour later going, fuck. Just one word, just fuck. Because it came back and bit him in the ass. And yeah, there's definitely that thing of we're Scottish. We want him to get his WrestleMania victory in front of a crowd. And no, we don't want to see him get cashed in on. But
Yeah, I thought it was excellently done. It was when he was standing in front of CM Punk and he was like sat in front of him. I actually thought quite provocatively at one point. He kind of kneeled on the table in front of CM Punk. I was like, are you trying to goad him into a fight, or are you trying to seduce him? Like it was really like, I don't know if it was just the tables are Ricky or whatever, but he kind of got on his knees quite funnily in front of CM Punk and was like showing him the belt and going like, I earned this, like
yeah,
I won this, you didn't. And CM Punk's like, okay, you can hear CM Punk going on the commentary going, yeah, congratulations, go and celebrate. Why are you standing here? Like you don't need to be telling me that you won. I saw you won. Well done. Go away. It's like,
I was just hoping, like, please don't let the table collapse. Like, you
yeah.
just, he's such a big guy and he's sitting crowds and like that could give way. I've seen tables drop for less. It's going to be really embarrassing if you fall on your arse.
I think is why he was being so like weird when he was getting on the table. But if you watch it back, he sort of like I don't know if you can watch it back. They might have, but it just looks very provocative the way he gets on the like.
It's like walking across thin ice.
Yeah.
Like, just got to be a wee bit careful here. But I'm just going to be a dick and wave this in your face.
I also assumed I'm quite happy that it didn't. But I assumed that when Damian Priest tried to cash in the Money in Bank, it would be a failed cash in. I could see it.
Right.
I could see him. I could see him being one of those guys that ran out and tried to take advantage of somebody, and it just not working. Or he used it. He used the belt to go for like a smaller title, or like for like a. But I was like, oh my god, like Damian Priest is a world champion.
Exactly. And then
think
that great shot of Judgment Day at the top of the ramp, holding their belts. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Very enjoyable. Just a really good start tonight too. So we all had Drew winning that one, and he did, but then he didn't. I think was the next match LA Knight AJ. I can't remember the way the orders went.
Could have
been Bailey. Yeah, but both matches were good. LA AJ was good fun. I think. What was one of your very rare missed predictions? Was that one we had? I had LA Knight winning, and you had AJ. I just think LA Knight needed to win it. That's the only reason I think the win's come out of his sales very. The win's been taken out. Basically, they had him big. They brought him in as like the next Rock, and then the actual Rock showed back up again. So you're like, oh, it became almost that meme of like, can we have some Rock when we go home? No, we've got the Rock when we go home. We stop for the Rock. No, we've got Rock at home, and it's LA Knight. I felt that that's kind of what was happening to him, but then I don't know. He needs to get a title. I think they let him take the US title off.
Aye, that's it. His credit's going to go down soon. Like he's been going up, but the fact that he's going so far and getting a title's going to get him through the next ceiling, but he's just aye.
If they can put him up, if they can give him Logan Paul, because Logan Paul's been
that would work.
He's been advertised for SummerSlam, so it'd be cool for LA Knight to take it then, I think, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was good match. Edge is great, so like it was always going to be a good match. It was a. I saw something online that said like, what are your predictions for the AJ LA Knight match? And like, great LA Knight match, standard AJ match. It's like it was that. It was and then Bailey Io Sky was great as well, just good fun.
Yes, it was good. The good result for that.
Yeah, just exactly what you would think it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I was a strange entrance where she was coming out like on this Egyptian get up, but she was on these men's shoulders. Like, did they not get a throw? Was there something like normally like they're carried on a big chair, and it's like we've lost the chair. Just get on her shoulders. No one will notice.
Yeah, I thought it was odd. Like you say, it was strange. She looked great though. She reminded me of Katy Perry in one of her music videos. If anyone knows the Katy Perry video where she's dressed like an Egyptian, it was that one. But she looked good. She looked really good, and she is excellent. She's probably one of the best. Great world title, well deserved. She's worthy of it. So
yes,
Io Sky was great. Io Sky was a good person to be as well because she was a great champion too. So and then Testament versus the Pride. Is that what they call them?
I couldn't remember. The Street Profits and Bobby Lashley
versus Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain. That was I wasn't looking forward to that match, to be honest, and it was fine. It was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. You had like they were just like a hardcore match. Started bringing out tables, which was good. Bubba Ray Dudley as your referee, slightly intoxicated Snoop Dogg, surprisingly. But did you find the fact that every match seemed to have been sponsored by something a bit strange?
We talked about that. Me and Craig talked about it at the time because he's a lapsed fan. Obviously, I'm kind of used to like what was going on now.
The barricades and the ring apron are all LED screens now, which can be changed to adverts. Ring posts can be changed to adverts.
And the Prime hydration station. I love this. They called it that every time. Like they didn't just call it.
Yeah.
They didn't go he's been knocked into the Prime. It was like, oh no, not the Prime hydration station. It's love that.
Some poor guy from the Mexican commentary has to put that all back together before the next match. But it's the fact that you had Prime turnbuckles, you had Prime across the center of the ring, but it was all these digital adverts for. I mean, even the Rey Mysterio Dominic match had like some Spanish soft drink as a sponsor. And
it was every match though. It was every match, wasn't it? It was like, we want to thank the people at Snickers for
and Whitley's vodka. Like, why does the mule have to go to Moscow? And then it was something called Dude Wipes. Like the Jay and Jimmy match was sponsored by Dude Wipes. It's like that. Like
I've had Dude Wipes. I've used Dude Wipes. They're really good.
Like, are we talking about like wiping asses here? What's going on? Like,
no, they're like they're cleansing wipes for men. They're just called Dude Wipes, but you get them in like I got them in like one of those. Like,
but we're not exactly wiping our foreheads with these.
Oh well, you can, but then also they're for other areas that are known to chafe, and you might use them for you would historically maybe use baby wipes.
I was almost just waiting for it to throw up like a Blue Chew, sponsor for a Divas match.
Definitely expecting all that sort of stuff, but it was comical just how much sponsorship was being used.
Yes, aye.
So Bridget, shout out to Bridget. She is I was her youth worker for years, and she comes to all our Comic Cons, and I can always give her a wee job to do when I'm like, Bridget, go and get me my lunch, or Bridget, go and fold these raffle tickets for me, and she's just like, fine. So
And she
yeah,
knows her
Dark
Katy
Horse.
Perry reference.
Yeah, Dark Horse. Yeah, that's a good music. Her music, Katy Perry's music videos are great. And yeah, so it was good. Yeah, sponsorships all the way. As the Prime stuff was that. What I quite liked about the Prime one is I was fully expecting it to be like a full size, like a massive Prime bottle in the middle of the ring with all the colors, and I thought, and I wasn't looking forward to that. I thought the actual I thought it was quite tasteful.
Just almost like a grey scale, kind of like a more muted color. So it wasn't overbearing.
That's Bridget saying that she doesn't know how she feels about us talking about her her having her comment pinned while we're talking about dude wipes. sorry, Bridget.
All right. Bridget's comments sponsored by Dude Wipes. The next comment's going to be sponsored by Manscaped, then Blue Chew, and then HelloFresh.
We talked about that. Like we've talked about that before. Like I know that you and me both like our podcasts. Do you not notice? Like we obviously hit an algorithm for podcasts, for the podcasts we listen to, and the sponsorships that those podcasts have. So all the sponsorships, all the sponsorships that. So I'll be like listen to a movie podcast or my Dungeons and Daddies podcast, or which is not BDSM podcast, it's a D&D podcast. But they're like they'll talk through it, and then they're like, and they'll have the host go like, "Oh, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped." Or Beer 52, or Dude Wipes, or movieposters.com, and it's always the same one. And it's like all the podcasts I listen, NordVPN's another one.
Oh yeah.
It's just I was like, I obviously hit an algorithm or like a type of listener, because then I've looked into all those products. So yeah. Sponsorship mania. So yeah, the Pride Testament stuff was really good. It was more entertaining than I thought it would be. And then I really enjoyed the Logan Owens.
Their triple threat was good. Great. Even just the entrances alone, you got your WrestleMania entrances. Well, Logan came out with his big Prime Jeep with a big Prime bottle that fired fireworks, I guess, or you just press the button to set off fireworks. But then you had Owens. Okay, he got the Sammy treatment. Go do this, bring home the belt. But the fact that he runs out, then runs back, comes out on a golf caddy, rides all the way down. Orton comes out, reverses all the way back up, picks up Orton, who was so sheepish on the back of this rickety metal structure, and then Owens firing down. And he was like, whoa, slow. Like, both of them could have just drove right into the ring. And it would have been
great.
It was
Orton's amazing. I have never liked Randy Orton in my entire wrestling life. Like I hated him when he was doing the Legend Killer stuff. I just have always took a dislike to him. I know that was his whole character, particularly like he was world champion when I went to Raw down in London, and it was like I fucking hate this guy. And I know that was the point, but it was verging on like X-Pac heat, that whole I don't boo him because I don't like him. I boo him because actually as a person I'm not massive into him. You know what I mean? It's not the right for me. It's never been the right kind of baddie. I've just really disliked him. But I've in the last couple of years have grown to respect the fact that he doesn't do a lot and he's really good at that. He's really good at
he's got longevity now, and even that he's slipping more into comedy, like when he was tagging with Matt Riddle, and just this bromance between them two was great, and the fact that the chemistry between him and Owens was perfect for this match, where it's right, we have a common goal, just slap Logan Paul daft.
kill Logan Paul.
And it was the whole backdrops on the commentary table, and Owen's like, that looks good, let me try that. And he does it, and then Randy's like, oh, you need more elevation, you got to do this a bit more. And he's like, okay, let's try it again. And they're throwing him onto the apron, and it's like, oh, it's perfect.
I really like the the ending sequence as well with the pop-up powerbomb into RKO combo.
Yeah.
Really, really, really clever,
Aye.
really cool.
And then they killed one of his friends that was hiding in a prime bottle.
Yeah, I didn't know who that was. I knew who KSI was because of I have children.
Yeah, it was the two of them that was behind the whole prime thing, but I think that's just another part of his collective group. But it was promptly murdered on a commentary table.
Yeah, it was good. Well, yeah. And I didn't know who it was. I don't know anything really about Logan Paul other than he does the energy juice and kids love him. But when his friend got nailed through the table, I was like, good.
That's that problem solved. It was a shame the table didn't break. But other than that,
I quite like when the table doesn't break. I don't know if that's like
make
the
it
same
worse.
I love that it doesn't. I love that it goes.
In my head, it's like they just need to try it again.
Just saying this is always happy to assist us. Yeah, I was folding raffle tickets at Decaf, and I was like, this is fucking tedious. Bridget, yeah, no, I love it when the table doesn't break.
It makes it look worse. Where just like, oh, that got hurt even more
because it hasn't. I don't know. Like I've never been fired through a table before, but like I want to imagine
that's a goal for decaf.
Yeah, to go for decaf, getting put through a table. No, I want to imagine that like the table collapsing onto like maybe has a bit of give to it, and it is. I've always kind of thought it maybe even looks worse than and maybe it looks worse than it is. However, I was just looking at Bridget's comments in the thing, and she's making me sound like a horrible human being. No, I always think, whereas like when the table doesn't break, it's just like, oh, he's just landed on like solid, and then you've got the other one where it breaks before it's supposed to, and then that's a good one too. I like that one. All the table spots, love a table spot, and yeah, so I think the right thing. I want Logan Paul to lose to somebody like LA Knight, or I would have had like someone like Sammy or that do it. So that so I'm quite happy that he still got the title. And then there was, is that all the matches? Showing through this quickly. Yeah, there was obviously the main event, which was unbelievable.
Yes, so much to kind of go through, and when I was watching it, I got to maybe the last 25 minutes. And then my PlayStation stopped working. I was like, I had to look at YouTube to find out how it ended. And it was just every appearance, but they cut out, it was only showing you the entrance and then cutting out the actual what they did when they came into the ring, like how Cena came out to take out Solo. It was like he showed up and then it cut right to The Rock coming out. And then it was just,
that was good.
But it was, I managed to watch it properly today.
It was excellent. I thought the Jimmy bump off the ramp looked
that was crazy. Like there was no, like we didn't know there was a table there to catch them, more or less. They just
murdered each other.
them off the stage and thankfully there was like a cameraman in a suit waiting down there for them. But
I thought they handled it really well. And I know when we talked about the predictions, I was like, oh, I would really like us to have an Avengers moment where they all line up.
Yeah.
And
no chloroform.
No chloroform, sorry.
No chloroform rag.
But yeah, I was expecting that. I was expecting like a more of like an assemble followed by brawl, and I really liked the way they did it, which was not. It wasn't the same. It had the same like folk coming out and did it, but I like that they all cancelled each other out. So you had like the Usos cancelled each other out. Cena took care of Solo, but then The Rock smashed him, and then it was just that.
Well, who can we get to smash The Rock? But then like they tried to like really throw us off by playing the Shield music.
Yeah, I think
I think there was definitely a section of the crowd like,
it's Moxley.
Dean Ambrose, back from the dead. Where has he been all these years? But it was Seth. Like the poor guy, and he went and got all the get up on. I'm running out, nailed, and then
really
back up, and then nailed again.
I think you have to hold it up to Seth though. Like I thought Seth was great. Seth is great. He's one of my faves.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a very good WrestleMania weekend. Like
No.
usually a bad WrestleMania weekend means you lose your match, but he lost a match, and then he lost a title match. He got up, and then he got nailed. And then he got nailed again. So like all three of his appearances ended with him getting his ass handed to him. But I think it's testament to him that I didn't think any less of him after that. I was just like, he's so good that he was able to take all three losses, for lack of a better term, in his stride. Whereas I don't actually think there's many wrestlers that could have done that in one weekend.
Yes, exactly. You could bounce back from it.
But the Undertaker showing up was hilarious. Like, just wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Used very sparingly, just the choke slam and fucked off. Like, it was great. He just did exactly. I did see the obviously I think folk wanted Stone Cold to come out because that Stone Cold Rock rivalry over WrestleMania is legendary. Yeah. I did see a meme that was like, I follow a Facebook page that's like wrestling meets The Simpsons, and there's that idea that because Dustin Rhodes had a title match on Dynamite this week.
Yes.
It's like, and it's the meme was like Stone Cold showing up at the airport. It's Tony Khan with a handwritten Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. And there was like, I'm here for the title match. He's like, yeah, I'm taking you to a world title match. He's like, yeah, is it the one that's got Cody Rhodes? And it's like, it's got our Rhodes in it. I think folk were expecting Stone Cold and were maybe disappointed that he didn't show up, but nobody was expecting Undertaker. So
I kind of thought that when you saw Kevin Owens' entrance and the camera went past what I thought was a quad bike, but then that was just a golf cart for KO. Yeah.
But no, it was excellent. Just a really, really awesome last match. Had the right result. I quite liked that the last 10 minutes they sat there and they followed Cody, like thanking everybody, and I thought that was a really good way to finish, rather than it just be the traditional him standing in the corner with the belt. I really like that.
Everyone was coming in or calling him out, because that was it. Like even the ring announcers announcement, like is it Samantha Irvin? Like her announcement.
She was my MVP of the entire weekend. She was outstanding, and I read over the week that she deliberately goes her way not to find out results, so that when she calls winners and losers,
surprise. Yeah.
And the Sammy match, she was choking. You could hear her when she was singing, when she was announcing Sammy as the winner. You could hear her voice choking a wee bit, which was lovely. And then she could barely announce Cody Rhodes as the winner. And then just photographs of her in tears and stuff. Yeah. I saw Brian Hebner, Earl Hebner's little brother, mouth off about her on Twitter, and folk were like, "Shut up, she was excellent." Like, I think he wrote something like, he wrote something on Twitter like, "They've got this woman doing the announcing and she's awful, totally ruining WrestleMania for me," and then just got bombarded by folk going, "She's excellent. What are you talking about?"
Quickly put in your place.
Yeah, I thought she was probably like outside of like any wrestler, she was outstanding. She was like my toe. Every time she announced something, I was like, "Oh, she's loving this," and you can feel that in her announcings. So, yeah.
And even Michael Cole at the end just saying, "I love professional wrestling." Yeah. And you're like, we've not been able to say that word for a while.
Well, that's the thing. So they're I've heard that they're phasing out sports entertainment.
Yeah,
it's good because it's shit and it sounds stupid.
Yes,
and changing it for they're going to be using sparing more professional wrestling as a term more. Yeah, it's good, exciting stuff. Felt like the start of an era, and I know they kept saying that to us, like, "Are you ready for the new era?" and all that sort of stuff. But actually, it does feel like they're moving somewhere else. So good. In terms of predictions, because that's what everyone that wants to hear us talking about WrestleMania wants us to know. Let me count them up. So I had Awesome Truth, Jay, Jade, Roman, Rhea, Bailey, Logan, LA Knight, Drew, and Cody. That's 10, yeah?
Right.
And you had Sammy, A-Town, Down Under, Jay, Jade, Roman, Rhea, Bailey, Pride, Drew, and Cody, which is also 10.
Yeah.
And Stuart had Jay, Jade, Dom. Jay, Jade, Roman, Rhea, Logan, LA Knight, Drew, and Cody. So he only got 8, unfortunately. So you, me, Drew. I thought you'd won, and I maybe miscounted. So then we had to go to fan predictions, and if we only used the first fan prediction, I had R-Truth trying to hook Priest's briefcase, and you had chloroform. So actually, I don't know what the tiebreaker would be. So
we'll just have to roll over to the next pay-per-view.
Exactly. So I'm at this weekend on Saturday. I'm selling comics alongside Colin at a toy convention, a toy and comic fair in Glasgow. So I'm going to go and see if I can find somebody selling wrestling merch. I'm going to buy us a toy belt, and I like that. We'll roll over to Backlash and try and
yes,
who's going to be the Brewgooder fantasy wrestling booking world champion.
Exactly. Get that exact paragraph of text put on the belt.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was one of the best WrestleManias I've seen. I'm trying to think of the ones that I think are better, and I do genuinely struggle.
As you said, I think when it comes to every 10 years, like WrestleMania 30, wasn't that the year where it was Daniel Bryan overcoming like Triple H, Batista, Randy Orton to win, to get both belts? So that was amazing.
It was a great all-round show as well, though. Am I right thinking that's when was that the Undertaker losing the streak that year as well, or did I make that up?
That might have been a different year.
I just remember WrestleMania 30 being amazing, and me walking away thinking, "Oh man, wrestling's great again." WrestleMania. I'm trying to think if I go further back. WrestleMania 24 maybe is in my top. It's like the one in 2000 and I don't know the number properly. It's like 2008,
right?
Which is the one that had that was Edge versus Undertaker. It was the first one I think where they decided that they were going to stay outside for WrestleManias. So it was a year that the Undertaker won the Royal Rumble, and it was the one that Ric Flair retired at.
Right. Yes. Okay.
That was an all good show. And then
I did find it funny that they pointed out you were getting weather updates throughout the pay-per-view.
I think it was just because it was so fucking cold, weren't they?
Yeah, just to see the commentary team wearing beanies and gloves.
Yeah,
just like I guess people were freezing.
Pat McAfee like totally freezing because he was wearing a suit, and they were all like wearing their
open shirt. Aye, they're wearing gloves. And he's pulled Michael Cole's pulled a beanie over his headset, and it was almost as it doesn't beat the poncho year where you had Samoa Joe and Michael Cole in ponchos.
Poncho Mania.
We're gonna have to stall for another half hour. There's rain gathering at the sides.
I think that was I'm quite bad for like laughing at morbid stuff in wrestling, and obviously Poncho Mania was supposed to be the year that they were coming out of the it was the first wrestling event in front of a crowd again, and you're like, oh my god, guys, I'm so sorry. Like I felt bad, but also was like, it's rain. The first WrestleMania of the year's getting rained off. It's great.
There's just the memes of sad Samoa Joe in a poncho. Just
he's criminally underrated on commentary. I know he's obviously a world champion again now, so
yes,
but I think I always thought he was amazing in commentary. He got the Royal Rumble that year as well, and I thought he was amazing. I was like, oh, I want Samoa Joe on that table more often. WrestleMania X7, I will still hold up and say is the best WrestleMania of all time. I think WrestleMania 40 came close a few times, but I saw a thing on Instagram where somebody was in the crowd for Limp Bizkit, and as they start playing My Way, he pulls out his phone and starts playing the promo video.
They get the promo video, of course.
And then folk are like there's folk behind him like laughing because he's watching the highlights of The Rock versus Stone Cold during a live performance of My Way by Limp Bizkit. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Top tier hype packages.
Excellent. That was a great hype package as well. I would have WrestleMania 40 in my top 5 quite easily. I can't sit off the top of my head and go, I think of many that are there. I'm sure if I stopped and thought about it more, but Yeah, X7 30 and 24, maybe 20 was quite good, but
maybe we could do it for Backlash. Have like a top 3, top 5 manias.
Yeah,
and
I think
why.
we're good. And why? Yeah, let's do that. You can't do that for Backlash though, because if we decided to do it as top Backlashes, because Backlash 2000 is the best WWE pay-per-view possibly.
Is that the one where Big Show came out as Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Or not as a Scotsman?
Oh, I think that was the Scotsman one. It was also the one where Scotty Too Hotty and Dean Malenko have like an absurdly good match. It's like, what's going on? This is incredible. And then I had The Rock versus Triple H with
and Austin came back.
Austin came back and just
they had the giant swinging the amazing sets.
It's possibly one of the best wrestling shows they've ever done. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, awesome. Anything else from the weekend you want to talk about, WrestleMania wise or wrestling wise? Or I'm glad we talked about Samantha. That was the one thing I wanted to talk about. I thought she was amazing. I thought
she did great. But no, just excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, very, very excited. Awesome. Awesome. We'll call it quits.
I think so. We'll hit the 2-hour mark. So well done to anyone else that's still watching.
Yeah, cheers everyone. Everyone have a great weekend. Come to Glasgow to the Renfrew rooms to see us. If you want to chat with me, call for a bit and buy toys. Yeah, everyone have a great weekend. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.